Hey everybody, I'm going to show you quickly how you can make some chain. I have a piece of annealed, this is actually bronze wire. You can use copper, you can use silver. This, I believe, is 18 gauge. And the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to bend just a quick little L in the end like that. And what I have here, which is different from what school has, but it's my own way, it is a hand crank drill. You can also do this with a power drill, although they have to do it pretty slow, so you might get a buddy to help you. I take this item and I put it in a vise, and you can kind of see what I've done here. I had to use a piece of wood to wedge it in, but there it is, and then I stuck a dowel in it. There's the dowel. Now, as you can see, there's the working end, and I take my wire and I kind of shove it in one of the available holes in the end here with that L all the way up. Oops, it's slipping on me. And then, oops, I got it to go too low. Hold on, adjustment time. Sometimes it has a hard time staying in place because it is not an official tool for this job. It's just how I've done things for lack of having an official tool. Okay, can it turn? Yes, here we go. Now I just roll this baby on here. Try to keep it nice and tight. And once I get the hang of it, I can, oops, let's not tangle up. I can start moving quicker. And rolling. Here, I'm gonna unravel this because this is problematic. Here we go. Now it's getting caught on the vise. Okay. This is a great job to do with a buddy, by the way. If you don't have anyone available, do it in class very quickly while we have time. And then take a bunch of this home. Get it ready to work on. And sometimes when I get to the very end, I use a pair of pliers just to smush it. There, neatly smushed. Now all I have to do is take it off. Nice. All right, part 2. Phase 2 involves me putting it into some sort of secure fashion. Could clamp it to the end of my little bench dog with something like this, or even this. But as I have a tiny vise here, I think I'll try the tiny vise. Now, I have a nice wood dowel here. It's kind of a cheap thing, so it's okay to clamp down. But if I wanted to keep that real smooth and neat, I guess I wouldn't want to clamp it like that. But that's what I'm doing. I'm moving over a little. I'm going to use my saw blade, and I'm going to load it with a little burr knife. It's all fluffy. And then I'm going to grab the end of this. Now, what I find is if I just hold it there, it's a little loose, and it also is very straight on. And so when I cut through, sometimes what happens is this end peels down because it catches. Then it warps my little jump ring. So I'm going to push with my thumb and pull with my finger. That kind of slants it, and now I'm going to saw at it. What that does is it makes it tight to the dowel in such a way that it doesn't pull down. It just sort of snugs in, and it cuts across the wire in a slightly diagonal fashion, which improves its surface area. This is cool. I mean, you'll notice that in like culinary stuff, like when people make baguettes that cut baguettes at an angle, and then you get more baguette for your crusty good muffalata or whatever you're putting on it. Look at that, I just pulled a bunch of jump rings off. Look at those little jump rings. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that period of time. That's pretty good. So I get it up here, tip it, and I slide on in with my saw, and I go at it again. My goal is not to saw through the bottom, just the top. You want a complete jump ring, not a bunch of D rings or something, you know, open C's. That's not what we're looking for. So now I pull this off. Oops. And of course, I'm going to drop some of them on the ground, and then I will assume the jeweler's position, and that is me crawling around with my butt in the air, looking for my stuff. Sometimes they'll just stay on here, though, which is kind of nice. They won't stay forever. So when you want them to come off, just roll until they come off like that. It's like popping a dangly. I don't know what that was. Okay, here we go again. I'm actually not loaded with burlap. Here we go. Once again, I'm going to find my slot again in both my hunk of wood and in my metal, because I've always created a little slot. So now I'm going to go again, keep my angle on my jump rings, keep them angled, good surface area for soldering, but also keeps them tight on the dowel. Look at that. Ooh. Knock them off. Sometimes you can just put like a rag in your lap or a towel, and then they'll just fall off in your lap and you'll catch them that way, and you won't have to crawl around on the ground. Turn them. Put your blade in and go at it. Just like that. You'll be surprised. I mean, 6 at a time, you can crank through a lot. By the way, I tend to use about a yard, and this is just an approximate, a yard of wire is maybe the equivalent of about 6 to 8 inches. So that's multiple yards to make a 16-inch chain, which is sort of a standard for making something that goes around your neck. I mean, you need about 16 inches to comfortably do that. And that's a small one for people who have larger necks. They might want an 18. So there we go. This is saw and jump rings. Now I have quite a few here. Also, the size and length you can create with that is incredibly dependent on the size of your link. Now, bigger does not necessarily make more length because you're using more wire to create that, but the circumference from here to there of your jump ring is also a little wider, so it tends to run out to between 6 and 8 inches. So it can be stretched when you turn something like this into an oval. And what I'm thinking is that you want to make something that approximates something you can use in a piece. That could be that you need to make it a chain, a bracelet, or it's just an element of chain in an object, like a pole cart or something, you know? It's up to you. You're going to be the thinker here. You're going to be the inventor. It's processes that I show you can be incorporated in that thing. So we're going to take a break here. Okay, let's see how many of these are on the floor. Oh, there, and there, and over there. I don't know what else is on the floor. There's a little piece of DAP stuff. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these together. And you'll notice that if you look at them face on, they all have like this bottom side pointing to that direction and the top side pointing to this direction. and you can just face them on each other and push them in. That's pretty cool. So keeping that in mind, what I want you to do is to cut them in half. Oops, now I can't get this apart. Okay, cut them in half. Count them up, cut them in half. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so just make 2 distinct even piles of one another, and once you get to the end of that, there's 2 there, and 2 there, and 2 there, and then there. 2 piles. 1 here, and 1 here. Look at that. Okay, so 1 pile we're going to turn into just flat pieces. And the other pile, we're going to set aside and connect these. So what I want to do is get rid of that bend. I'm going to grab my 2 sets of pliers on either side. Let's see, am I in the front? There we go. And I'm going to take these and bend them in this direction, and then that direction, and then that direction, and then bring them together like that, so that there's relatively little gap in there. But I'm finding that one's a little tricky, so push them together flat. So that's what we are going to do with each one of these. We might even be able to do this without pliers. Here we go. 1 and a 2 and together. Oh, that's because it has a burr there, so that one might be problematic. This one, I don't think has a burr. 1, 2, 3. There, that's nice and together. The reason why I don't pull out is that it'll totally malshapen this sucker. It will become an oval or something strange. So I want to keep it a circle. So I'm work hardening it by dragging it back and forth like that. And then that makes it spring-like so that when I push it together, it's holding together, kind of like with your bezel. So I'm going to go that way and that way, and then together. I think you get it now. So now what I've done is all of the ones that I put together very flat, I put a piece of solder underneath and a little bit of flux on top. And just like with my bezel wire, I'm going to put these all together. Now this represents half of my collection. Ta-da! All done. Now I pickle. Okay, so now I've mildly pickled a group of these right here, and I'm going to start linking them together. So I take one that is unsoldered and I link it to a soldered one, like so, and that. And then I bring this one together, just like that. Now, I take this guy, I open up this link, and I take my grouping, there's 3 of them, and I put that one on, and I put on another soldered link, and I bring this one together. I really work on getting that together, just like that. And I keep doing that. Take the fresh soldered link, open up an unsoldered link, stick that through, add that one, and push them together. Just like you did with all those on the table you just soldered. Open that one up. Link through. Put a sealed one on. Push together. Just like that. I'm getting a chain. Open a fresh link. Stick that one on. Grab another one that's sealed. Push it together. And so on. Open, slide through, grab, put that on, put together. And I am developing approximately 4 inches because that's all I had the energy to demo on today. I have plenty more and I'll probably do those on my own. Boink. Only 2 more to go. Open, put it through the soldered one, push together. Really get them together. See, that one has kind of a, I don't know if you can see that, just a wee gap. Spend a little more time mashing that puppy together. So it just wants to be next to it. Here. One left, open. Put through, put the other one through, there. Now, this is where your third arm comes in. This is going to be great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this steel as a heat sink. So when I am soldering, I am going to pinch the bottom end of my ring. In that case, let's just start in the middle, right here. Here's a ring. This is the opening on the top. I'm going to pinch it at the bottom, just like that. Now I'm going to let these links dangle off on either side. I don't want them pinched in here though. And I am going to take a look at where the solder joint is. Now if the solder joint is up against that, it stands a chance of soldering to it. So I'm going to roll both those solder joints down so that they're aimed downward. And now I am going to solder that. Now this is a process called pick soldering. So I'm going to put this out of the way and create a space where you can see how the pick soldering happens. Let's see, here's my space. I'm going to take a piece of solder. Now I actually picked something called mystery solder. I have no idea what it is, but for this purpose, I can use it. It's probably the only use it's going to ever have because there's nothing I'm attaching to it. So I'm going to chunk out, oh, I guess it might be like 12 pieces. Let's see, is it 12 pieces? And I stopped counting. Okay, so I got some pieces. How about some pieces. And are they in the zone? They're in the zone. So, you know, I kind of showed you how to ball up a piece of silver. You can do the same thing with your solder. Now I'm going to give each one of these little pieces a little bit of flux. Just flux those puppies. Okay, and then they stick to my brush because they are not wet enough. Oh, even wet, they stick. Turkeys. Okay, there we go. Don't stick. Don't stick. Don't. Bugger. Okay, get off. Get off. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna use a nice small torch tip. This is why I think you could do this with the mini torch here. I'll show it in class. So nice tiny little flame. Tiny little flame. Come down here and ball up these pieces. Let me turn on my vent. There we go. Here's a piece. It's getting warm. It's getting warm. It is a ball. And there's a piece. It's getting warm. Now, what I want to do is actually pick up this ball. So what I need to do is heat up a pick. Here's my pick. See how it looks in the flame? I get it nice and hot. Now I go back to that ball and I get it molten, and only then can I pick it up. It's got to be molten and this has to be warm. That is really important. Now I'm going to take you back up here to my pieces on a chain right here. I'll go right there. And I'm going to heat it right at the top. I'm going to do it from this angle here. Oh, let me put a little bit of flux on it. Almost forgot. There we go. Flux. Now I'm going to heat it in this direction, and I'm not going to move it that much this time. I'm just going to get it hot and attach my piece of solder to it. I don't think I attached it in the right place. Let's see if I can encourage a maneuver. Yep, that did it. Good. Now I take this and I dip it in water over here. Boop. That way I won't burn myself as I attempt to go to the next spot. Oh, didn't actually do that. Silly me. Sometimes I aim at the wrong place, and part of the reason that I'm doing that is that I can't do it sideways. I have to do it in this direction. So that is not a good 3/4 turn. So maybe we can make a compromise on this visual and go like that. Hopefully you can see that. And let's see if I can't get a little closer. There. Is that a little closer? I'll take this out of the way. Maybe I can. This is a very heavy doohickey. There we go. So I might be able to see that a little better. So there is my so-called crotch of metal. Here is my flux. Now I'm going to go down on my table and pick up another ball, which is heat up the ball. Well, first, I will heat up my pick, heating up my pick. I go down and I heat up my ball, and when it turns into a ball, I pick it up with my pick. Now, I'm heating straight across this, and when it gets warm, I touch it, and it goes across. Turn that off. Now, sometimes I can quite gingerly grab the opposite end, unpinch it, dip it in the water, and then it's ready to go. So I've got here, a soldered one, a soldered one, and a soldered one, all in 3 rows, just like that. That's pretty cool. Let me see if I can't do, here's another one that needs to be done. Okay, so grab it. And then rotate my solder joints down so that they don't get excited about that. Tip you over here. Ugh. It's not a smooth rotator. Okay, starting it again. Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm going to heat up my pick tip, go down, make a ball. When it turns into a ball, boop, I pick it up. There we go. Now, oops, flex. It won't go if it's not flexed. Heat it, and it goes. That is pick soldering, and that is what you can do with a mini torch. In class, I will show you with the mini torch. Okay, so that took me about half an hour to do 6 inches. I could probably in an hour do 16 inches, just because it's the same process. So it's just more of the same in separate increments. So chain making can be really fun, and you can get really productive, and you can do all kinds of wonderful shapes. In class, I will show you some of the other shapes that I make. All right, this is the basics. Thank you very much. Bye.